It is 6 a.m. Central African time, 5 a.m. in London. A very good morning to you and welcome to this edition of Kusile Breakfast Show. I am your host, Sifiso Ngumala, and trust me, just like every other day, we do have quite the exciting lineup for you again this very day, filled with insightful conversations as per usual. First up, we'll be speaking with Ayanda Sikudla. She's the project manager of COSPE, which is the Youth and Empowerment project that we want to shine focus on today. It's an incredible initiative which is supported by the European Union, which is also making waves in 18 communities across our country. It's a big deal. 18 communities across our country just focusing on young men and women, fostering entrepreneurship. Ayanda is going to share with us how the project is providing 70,000 emalangeni in funding to women as well as youth with creative and innovative business plans. We also want to, just also learn how they are being trained in entrepreneurship to build sustainable futures. The conversation has always been, let us not just build futures for our youth and our young girls and men. Let us make sure that they are sustainable. But we also do have to speak about something that has been quite concerning for, a very, quite some time recently, which is going to be in our second segment. We want to delve into the pressing issue of powerful gas and forest fires that have caused widespread devastation. I'm sure everyone, if you follow news online, if you follow news on mainstream media, on traditional media, we have seen what has been the topic of conversation pretty much for the last week. We are going to have Dr. Mdumseni Dlamini. He is going to help us understand as well as dissect the recent strong winds and wildfires that have left a trail of destruction across Livelakangwane. As reported, approximately 113 people laba likhulu nabantu laba lishumi nakuthatu that have been displaced, as well as significant damage that has been done to Emakaya, Dimoto, as well as sugarcane fields. And it's a big deal because if you know ukuthi umnotho weLivelakangwane hinges kangakanani kuma sugarcane fields, then we ought to be concerned just as much as we are concerned about our homes and our cars that have been affected by this devastation, the Bangwa-Genglama wildfires. Dr. Dlamini is going to therefore provide us with insights into the causes, the impact on the community, and what measures can be taken to mitigate such disasters in the future. Stay tuned for this and much more as we bring you the latest news, compelling interviews, and all the information you need to start your day right here on Kusile Breakfast Show. For now, let's look at leading headlines this morning on our major newspapers. Lapha Iveni. All right, asitale ngeliphephandzaba iTimes of Eswatini. Sibuke at the front page. What are the leading stories this Wednesday morning? Making the biggest story there is a first suspected mpox case. Man has been quarantined. Patient with abnormal rash frequented South Africa to purchase stock. Nhlangano residents are now worried. Health Ministry is conducting tests and contact tracing. We still don't have PPE, according to Swadno. Magistrate pushes woman out of moving car and assaulted by guards. It's a Nhlangano-based senior magistrate who is being pointed in a white arrow form. Rushes to the woman on the pavement with the red arrow on that picture after he had allegedly pushed her out of a moving vehicle and assaulted her. Indzaba lena lebuhlungu kakhulu esithemba ukuthi ke nakhona ingalo yemthetho itawuvele yente njalo. Kwenye indzaba, soccer star held for drugging, gang rape of pupil loneminyaka ke leshumi nesihlanu. Another sad, gut-wrenching story there. 5 years for using Nkosikazi's name to get job is another leading story. Mbonzela murder suspects beak. That is a story that has been a story for some time now, and it's still being investigated. Let's move on to the midlalo kuyo Times of Eswatini. Making the big story there. Inzaba ya Zesco tables over 250,000 emalangeni for Sikali. He is hot property. Sabelo Sikali ke loyo. Top goal scorer offered 150,000 emalangeni signing on fee. Zambian side offers him 30,000 emalangeni monthly salary. Sabelo Sikali Zenisa is once again set to receive a lifeline. Spain beat France. This is a game that was played last night. Lapho kuba khona UEFA Euro Championship. Kylian Mbappe not good enough for Spain. Spain has advanced to the finals, awaiting the team they will play against. Sitawubukela ke lamanye semi-finals competition isaqhubeka. Sihlangu coach to be unveiled in a fortnight. The national team Sihlangu is set to welcome a new helmsman in just a fortnight. Mackenzie stops superfans' joy is the last story making the leading headlines. Good Times of Eswatini. Siqhubeka embili sibuke iEswatini Observer. Indzaba lehamba embili ku front page. Woman confesses to using Inkosikati's name. Royalty must be protected according to principal magistrate. Accused fined 10,000 emalangeni or 5 years in jail. It will be hard to rehire accused, according to Principal Secretary. Kulenye Inzaba, Miss Cultural Heritage 2024-2025 applications are now open. Sugar Association's record-breaking 7.4 billion emalangeni revenues, another story, which Eswatini TV broke, by the way, Eswatini Laitolo, in one of their shows called Market View during the date as at 2 p.m. Kulenye Inzaba, first suspected case of monkeypox has been recorded. 148 people displaced by wildfires. It's a story that we are going to further dissect and ventilate with Dr. Mdumseni Dlamini, an environmental specialist, today on the show. Inzaba yema wildfires. Eswatini Observer. The big story, he is a free agent. Mbanele Pupu Sikons, a former Evelyn Bering alumni, training with Ilovo now. His contract with Highlanders is elapsed. Bull is yet to engage player. Instacash pumps in 231,000 emalangeni for the Oho RFA Cup. Inzabagelena letsinza sponsorship semalene ngakhulu letawubona iHoho Regional Football Association ibane mqhudelwano wanaya inkomishi naya. Klenye inzaba Manzini Wanderers will always be a big team according to Diana. Eswatini Daily News this Wednesday morning. We'll start with the front page. Sibuke inzaba lehamba embili. Sibona ke DPM who seeks UNFPA collaboration to address youth issues in Eswatini. You have been seeing the Deputy Prime Minister's office being steadfast in addressing the issues that are articulated in their portfolio, and it calls for commendation, it calls for plaudits, especially Tandla Balihovisi Nekusuga Emakonso Angwe Namambala 4-year-old killed by tractor is another story. That is a gut-wrenching, a toddler that was killed in the Manyovu area when he was mowed by a tractor. Yeah, ibuhlungu kakhulu ishaqisa ligogo. Brass monkey weather for Southern Africa is another story ku front page of Eswatini Daily News. Siqhubekele embili sibuke temidlalo. Big story in Singizini faces Kanya Gwezwe calf blow. Highlanders boss Chief Ali Khomongwe insists he remains a contracted Highlanders player until the end of August, while the Shiselweni-based outfit intends registering him for CAF Confederation Cup before July 2024. Over 200,000 emalangeni for Instacash or FA Cup. Vinicius Jr. from the international front. Vinicius Jr. apologizes after Brazil's early Copa exit. Tingawo-ke letihamba embili emaphephandabeni yelive asichubekele embili nalo lihlelo-ke kubahlola imakethe sitawubuya sithathe indzaba lapha ekhaya eSwati.
I'm a very, 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 very happy customer.
I know.
Imali yebhizinisi ayidliwa wayidla utolala phansi.
Hayi ngimsebenzi yethu lesindako la ekhaya njengoba niyibona limihle nakangaka.
Ngiyagolosha, which is crocheting.
Ngiyakhicita ke noko kakhulu emsebenzini wetikhumba.
Ngiyenda kwegaba emaqiqi nokwegaba entsanyeni.
Ngilungisa emagedlela.
Hello, how are you? We are selling peanuts at 5. Thank you so much. Umdala kubusi. Pandi strat babe.
Ngosilenhle siphinde sinamukele ehlelweni sonibukela yona ikusile breakfast show uhlelo lwesithathu kunaliviki lesilicale tinsukwini ke letimbili lesetiphelile sifuna kubuka tindzaba tesiswati kulesikhathi sanyalo hlala nathi sethabele tona nathi tindzaba liphini landvuna nkhulu imphunga Kusile dladla lethi ukuthi igceba kwebantfwana labangemantombatana kuyabita kulamalanga kungako ke uhulumende udzinga kubanjiswa kude wonke umntfwana wakhona kutfola kwekutigceba ngesikhathi la kudzinge ngaso liphini landvuna nkhulu belikhuluma ngesikhathi lemukela kwekuthi igceba kwebantfwana labangemantombatane uma basemalangeni abo lokunikelelwe lihhovisi laka UNFPA.
Mhlabuhlangene uthi kulungelo lawo wonke umntfwana loyintombatana kutfola kwekutigceba uma asemalangeni akhe. Lihhovisi lakamhlaba lelibuke kutalana i-United Nations Population Fund UNFPA ngalesibili livakashele lihhovisi leliphini landvunankulu kwetfula tishumba tekwekutigceba kubantfwana labangemantombatana uma basemalangeni abo lokucuketse nekwetinaka nje kwebafana lokufaka ekhatsi emafutsa ekugcobisa. Lobuke lihhovisi laka UNFPA kuleli Margaret Twala nguyelo wetfulelo lisuto kulo liphini landvunankulu.
The EU and different partners, they are all contributing to ensure that dignity yomntwana nontombazana is maintained. So we are happy that as UNFPA, as part of supporting you and your office, we'll be donating 100 dignity kits or dignity packs, as the ambassador mentioned. And the dignity, it's dignity because we want the life of the girl dignified. But we've also recently expanded the dignity kits to also focus on the boy child so that the boy child is not left.
Umhlonishwa liphini landvunankulu imphunga Kusile dladla uthi lo sito lolu lutawuletha kuhlonipheka emfaneni wentombatana.
If we let these kids drop out of school because of nako lo ngeke akwati lokhu utawucabanga ukuthi siyakhuluma nje. This is very, very important. It forms part of equality life. Without this, that is why we're going to experience a high number of dropouts, a high number of children labatawu repeater. So siyabonga nje kakhulu, sithembise nathi ukuthi sitawuchubeka sisebenze ngokutikhandla.
Lamahhovisi lamabili aphinza abambisane etindzabeni tekulwa nekuhlukubetana ngetebulili nekunakekela nje umntfwana loyintombatana asakhula. Etindzabeni yeSwatini TV kubika Samkeliswe Khoza nginasimuva Shongwe eMbabane.
Hulumende utawulungisa indlu yemndeni wakakunene loweswele engonini kanti nelijaha la kuleli khaya Senzohleta lelacela lusito ehhovisini leliphini landvunankulu selitfolelwe nemsebenzi enkampanini leyakha emafutsa ekupheka i-Eswatini Oil and Mill Industries. Lokhu kuvetwe liphini landvunankulu imphunga Kusile dladla ngesikhathi ivakashele leli khaya ngemsombuluko.
Leli jaha lelikhala kakunene engonini Senzo Hleda loneminyaka lengama-21 wetama kuyobika kuhlupheka kwakhe kuyo ingwenyama Silo Inkosi Mswati wesithafu ngesikhathi Silo siyovula indzawo yetitolo kaManzini iManzini Lifestyle Center kanti liphindla ndvunankulu imbongathuli Kusile Dladla nelibandla laleli hovisi bavakashele lelikhaya lakhabo Senzo engonini lapho batfole khona lendlu labahlala kuyo ukuthi ayikho esimeni lesikahle netimpahla nato lebe banato tasha ngesikhathi lelinye lijaha lakulendzawo lekusolakala ukuthi ligula ngengcomvo lishisa lendlu eminyakeni lophelele ngenyanga yengongoni lokushiye lendlu inetimfa liphindla ndvunankulu ke libese litfulela lomndeni wakakunene tindzaba letimnanzi
Sambika ke naye kuye wekunene ukuthi kunalomunye umntwana lokhale ngako kona kunzinza yasithuma ke ukuthi site sto bavusela nangibale siyakhanza vele njalo bangasebenzi bude vele bangakudla umntwana lapho yasho ukuthi uthanza icarpentry sitawubuka kumbe eminyakeni lodako ukuthi ahambe ayoyifundzela kwanyalo lapha kaSomi Oils lapha inkosi beyikhona khona bathi batamthatha ete atobamba umsebenzi lapho ngawubamba khona.
Senzo Hleda utibongele emakhosini elive nakuye uhulumende wangeta nekuthi nasesikolweni wayekela ngenxa yokweswela donati imali.
Ngithi angibonga kakhulu kuye Silo Mswati inkosi kusinika leliphuba leli kusemukela futhi sitintsanza netakhe naku lengakubonga ukuthi akhona kuvumela mange etato sibona kulesimo lesinjeni ngithi bayethu naphakathi mswazi omnyama kulabathulu lodonganda basembelebeleni lodonganda basemambondweni.
Ngenjabulo nekumangala make wakhe Senzo noNhlanhla kunene naye uhambe emagameni endvodzana yakhe watibongela.
Ngiyabonga kusilo sikhulu, ngiyabonga kungwenyama, ngiyabonga umbangisitha kulokhu lakangentele kona lisuku lanamuhla.
Liphindla ndvunankulu lithi hulumende unikode umsebenzi wekunakekela inhlalakahle yalo lonke eSwati wathe eMaswati akangatsinwa alithinze lelo hovisi lapha abona khona bantfwana bantfu labadzala bantfu labakhubatekile nemindeni lehlala ngaphansi kwetimo letimetima. Etindzabeni yeSwatini TV kubika Samkelisiwe Khoza ngisengonini.
Indvuna yetindlu nekutfutfukiswa kwemadolobha umhlonishwa Pholo Maphalala uthi hulumende uyayisebenta indzaba yeluhlangothi lweticishamlilo lelide emathulusi lanele kusebenta kanti netisebenzi nanato letinganele. Indvuna beyikhuluma ngetaba letentiwa litiko kuhlangabetana netidzingo tetebeticishamlilo.
Luhlangothi lwebeticishamlilo lutikhandzela lutfoleka metima ngempela sontfo ngenxa yemililo lebeyisha eveni lonke. Ticishamlilo titsi titikhanze setide kokusebenta lokwanele ngenxa yemililo lebeyikhona. Libandla tindzaba likhulumise indvuna yetindlu nekutfutfukiswa kwemadolobha umhlonishwa Pholo Maphalala kuva kutsi tabatini letentiwa litiko kucinisekisa kutsi ticishamlilo tinemathulusi lanele kusebenta netisebenti letanele.
Kepha ke nyalo njengoba kunebeticimamlilo labatrainwako bavele bayofita kuleto station leto sikhulisa icapacity ngenye indlela yokuthi esanze. Kwesibili ngiloko ukuthi timoto taka fire nato tiya kulomnyaka budget yethu setifakile hulumende ke usese process noma baka fire basese process yokuthi bendele tinto leti taboma procurements bata approve budget. So kuthatha lichinyana ke ngoba timoto taka fire tibuye be specialized kwana nato. But kwesithathu sikhulisa linani lema-fire engines noma leti engine letisebenza kucishwa ngato imililo. So nakhona lapho kukule budget yalomnyaka lesikuwo. Bese mhlawumbe kwesine umlanga kubeka ngilokuthi bekungiloku live livalile ukuthi kucashwe tisebenzi tahulumende. Kepha ke ngoba naku nyalo sekuye kuhle kuya ngekufulafuleka netikhala lebedvele tikhona kafaya ngaphandle kwalabo labarecruitwa kwabo nyaka kwabona lokukhulisa nje le capacity leti dash leti vele tikhona leyo ndzaba leyo sesifakile ka public service lokuthi singetelwe bantfu kafaya.
Eveni kunetininte nkosi letibambisa live ngetindlela letahlukene ingabe senikena lucela yini lusito nakuto.
asikahlali vele kulolu hlangothi ticelo tiphumile bakhona la bethembisa ukuthi bangahle baselekelele le tulu nje lapho sitimisele ukuthi siyoba ne training center lephelele khona yabafaya le tulu eMotshani avele tikhona tethembiso letichamuka etinini telive nasekuhlotsheni tenkosi ukuthi titasibambisa kuloko futhi ke akusikolo kuphela vele nayona le support lesichubeka nokuyithola nyalo ikhona icontribution lebuya kuto tinini tenkosi.
Induna ithi live selilonke lina-10 wetindzawo teticishamlilo kufaka ekhatsi tintsatfu letincane letitawungedwa tisebenti emathe yangakomo emhlabatsini. Etindzabeni ngingugiyani Msibi, uNasimuva Shongwe naNompumelelo Khumalo, sisembabane.
Indzaba yekwabelana imisebe tekuchumana indzaba ledzinga kutekwa ngalokujulile njengoba ke idzingwa tinhlangothi letahlukene letfaka ekhatsi tekusakata kanye natekundiza kulokunye. Ngakusho kwemcondzisi wetekuchumana etiko letekwatisa nekuchumana Andreas Dlamini, emave asahlanganisa imivo kanye netinkinga letidzinga kusombululwa kute-ke kutawukhulunywa ngelivi linye kulo mhlangano lomkhulu lotako. Dlamini abekhuluma ngesikhatsi lomelele indvuna yelitiko letekwatisa nekuchumana phesheya Dube avula lo mhlangano.
Lamave langephansi kwalenhlangano atawukhona kufaka imivo kanye nekuveta tinkinga letikhona etindzabeni letiphatselene nemisebe yekusakata letsinza tinhlangothi letahlukene kulo mhlangano lomkhulu utawubanjwa nga-2027. Lomelele indvuna yelitiko letekwatisa nekuchumana Andreas Dlamini uthi-ke noma tikhona tinkinga letidzinga kusombululeka letfaka ekhatsi takhiwo lapha esifundzeni sase-Afrika, kepha-ke lesifundza sitawusitakala kakhulu kulo mhlangano.
Le misebe yalokusakata sis noma yalokuchumana emoyeni iyinyama madzabo esikwakhona ngobe kusakata kwe-radio kusebenza ngayo, kusakata kwe-TV kusebenza ngayo, bomahlale ekhukhwini basebenza ngayo, ukuchumana ngetinditi kwetindiza kusebenza ngayo, ukuchumana kwemikhumbi kusebenza ngayo, i-Wi-Fi isebenza ngayo, ma-satellites sichumana nabo weather kusisibostathisha bo weather njenjalo sichumana nema-satellites. So solo kusetshenziswa le misebe lokhanza kokuthi ke igcina seyibanga lokuthi lo awuye lapha, lo awuye lapha, lo awuye lapha. So ke kufuna ukuthi libe nako ukuthi lona linana ema-services nanga lelidzinga le spectrum less siyosebenza ngakhona. So khanza ukuthi ke kuye kube ngileto ndzaba leto lokhanza ukuthi iyadzingidwa.
In telecommunication word is important that we can speak in all the same language.
Matthias Burgess lomelele litiko letekuchumana eveni le-Angola uthi-ke lo mhlangano utawukhona kuveta kutsi lamave angasebenzisana kanjani ngendlela letawuzuza bonke bantfu kungakhathaliseki ukuthi basemakhaya noma basemadolobheni. Uthi lo mhlangano ubaluleke kakhulu ngoba wekucala ngqa lapho-ke kutawutekwa letindzaba tetekusakata ngalokujulile. Kuke kwabanjwa umhlangano wetekusakata eDubai lapho kwavela ukuthi-ke lesifundza sase-Afrika takhiwo takhona tisaceka. Eswatini-ke lihlushwa kakhulu kwebiwa kwetintsambo telitfusi lokucekela phasi imetamo yokuthi lusito lokutfola lwati lufinyelele kubo bonke bantfu. Etindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni nginaThemba Shabangu ezulwini.
Thobile Princess Motsa lobhekene nemacala lamatsatfu ekukhwabanisa asebenzisa libito lenkhosikati laFogyane wavumile ke macala labekwe wona yasenkantolo imgweba iminyaka lesihlanu abhadla ejele noma ke abhadala inhlawulo lebita imali lengu-10,000 emalangeni. Motsa loneminyaka lengemashumi lamatsatfu nemfica bekakadze ke avele embi kwamanje lomkhulu wasembabane lokungifikile enhlabathi. Kanti ke manje lomkhulu enhlabathi asengakasikhiphi isijubo sakhe. Ummeli wemsolo abanele Ngcamphalala ukhonkosele enkantolo ukuthi ifana ibe neluvelo ishaye umsolwa ngeluswati loluncane. Licala lemsolwa lekucala lekukhwabanisa ngulelo lekukhohlisa ke litiko letisebenti tembuso ukuthi inkhosikati laFogyane itsite esikhumbuzo Rudolf Sukati lo sebenta ehhovisini leliphini Ndvunankhulu akanikwe indlu yahulumende. Ngaleso sizatfu lelitiko lamnika Sukati indlu lesembangweni. kanti-ke kulesibili usolwa ngekuthi wakhwabanisela litiko letasekhaya uhlangothi lwekuphuma nekungena kuleli ngekuthi athi itsite inkhosikati laFokiane abamnika umsolwa i-international passport. Ngaleso sizathu lelitiko lamnika umsolwa leyo international passport legcina labhekene nalo lekukhwabanisa ngulelo lekuthi wasenga letemithi wathi inkhosikati laFokiane itsite libandla lelicasha ti-70 tembusa licashe umsolwa abelisekela lalobuke kuphuma kanye nekungena emagedeni elakuleli. Ngaleso sizathu lelibandla lamcashela kuleso sikhundla. Kwenye indzaba inkampani yashukela i-Eswatini Sugar Association yakhe inzuzo lengu 7.4 billion emalakeni eminyakeni timali wa 2023-2024. Lokhu kuvetwe ngumphathi walenkampani Banele Nyamane ngesikhathi yachaza ukuthi lenkampani isebenze njani kulomnyaka lophelile ngenyanga yeNdlovulenkhulu kulomnyaka.
Sinhlangano kwesikhonile ukuthi sithole inzuzo linganiselwa ku 7.4 billion wemalangeni. Kuloyo 7.4 billion ke kuphume indleko tekusebenta lo kwenda ukuthi imali legcine ithunyelwa kumalunga enhlangano ibe ngu 6.5 billion emalangeni. Lena ke inzuzo lecishe ibe setulu uma sibuka eminyakeni ledlulile. Kule mali ke le 6.5 billion 4.1 billion wayo uya kulabo labasilimela lomoba. Siphinde sithokotiswe ukuthi sikhonile kubuyisa even imali lelinganiselwa ku 98 million wama-dollars. Phindze futhi sabuyisa 36 million wema-euro. Letiketi imali leti khona ukusita etingungwini edelive tema-foreign exchange reserves.
Umphathi wenhlangano yakashukela uthi bayachubeka nekubuka imakethe tashukela esifundzeni lesempumalanga nelivekati le-Afrika kanye nasemaveni akasakho.
Siyachubeka nokubona ukuthi incumbi yaleti inhlangano tashukela uyukhanze ukuthi setiba nemsindo noma nekuwilitisana sesikhonile ukuthola abantu labatawusita lokuthi batihambele kuzama ukuthi batilekelele kulokunciphisa lemsindo lebahle babanayo kuze ukuthi umkhicito unganowonakala.
Uphindze wachaza ukuthi sebabuka tinhlanyelo temoba letikhona kumelana nekugucuka kwesimo selitulu kanye netifo temoba letahlukene. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Nelson Ngamandla ngina Junior Adakwa eMbabane.
Live leSwatini liphindze lakhona ukuthi likhetfwe ukuthi lichubekele noma ke lichubeke libe sebandleni lenhlangano lebukete kutsengiselana esifundzeni lesempumalanga naSentas nelivekati leAfrika ligatsha labomake iCommerce Federation of Women in Business. Ngekusho kwesihlalo weligatsha lakuleli Thandi Nxumalo lenhlangano seyisukumele kakhulu ukuthi bomake bachumaniswe netinhlangothi letifaka ekhatsi tekumba umcebo imining kanye nekuti nakutebunjinyela ukuthi bafundziswe ngemathuba lakhona. Nxumalo uthi ke lenhlangano ayikafisi ukuthi kube nabomake labeswele kanti ke emathuba ebabhizinisi yakhona. Nxumalo bekhuluma ngemhlangano wechaza emathuba lakhona lotawubanjwa kuleli.
Bakangwane baphinze babuyele ebhodini as a member. I-chairmanship ya eZambia, vice wabaseTunisia, i-rapporteur yabase-Rwanda. Siplane lokuthi bomake asitame by all means ukuthi sibafunele imisebenzi ukuthi bakhona kusebenza. Sendela ukuthi sirophe in all the institutions nema organizations la khona eSwatini. Naketa la atawufike unpack lama procurement awo. Basho ukuthi benda yini bomake labangathepha ini kuleti ndzawo tabo. Bese futhi bayasitshela nokuthi yini lokudzingekako ema-requirements ukuthi bomake bakhone ukuthi bathole lemisebenzi noma bayasupplya or whatever. But lesikwendako nyalo senda lokhu ku-treaty leyasayinwa ngema-heads of states. Ngoba siyathi phela ukuthi ama-heads of state kule treaty yakaCommerce asayina lapha onke lengemuva ku-article 155 ukuthi bayosidevelopa sonke sibomake siyi-youth. Thine ke nyalo senda lokho so sitawugruphana sifundzisane kahle ukuthi sende i-continuity, sende ne-quality. Asifuni ukuthi sivelwe ukuthi sibomake. Sifuna nathi kwenda the perfect umsebenzi, provide equality, sibe efficient, sethembeke. So this is what we are going to be doing. This time around, kuta baka mining, kuta baka construction, nebaka energy. Lapha ke sesikhuluma ngekuthi make naye akathephe in kulama male dominated places. Yes. So silapho nje nyalo.
Zemidlalo umphathi wenhlangano lengamele ibhola kuleli Frederick Mngomedulu uthi umsebenzi wekucasha umceceshi lomusha welikhethelo lesive nokusihlangisa emnikade uyachubeka ke futhi isive sitawubikelwa kungakapheli inyanga lesetulu ukuthi ngubani nomceceshi nalokho ukuthi utawusebenza isikhathi lesingakanani. Mngomedulu abekhuluma nalomsakazo eMbabane kunembiko.
Ngasho ukuthi njengoba besicelile ticele ukuthi bantu labaneshisekelo batame ukuthi ba-apply batfole vele labanengi labafise ukuthi bayelide national team baqhamuka mhlaba wonke umuntu angakusho lokusho kona ukuthi vele ngumsebenzi lobonakala abantu abaningi bafisile kuwenda lokuyinto enhle nayo leyo. Sesicalile ke ukukhulumisana nalabanye ngamunye sitawukhumbula ukuthi sasho vele ukuthi sitawufuna umceceshi lotawuphenze futhi sikhone nekuthi lokudabada indleko leti tawutsinzana naye sikhone kuhlangabetana nato. Siniketile ukuthi kutawuthi kuphela yona lenyanga lesibuyo ya July sitabe sesigabeni sekusho sithi ngubani umceceshi nekusho ukuthi enyangeni letako sibheke ukuthi lona licembu lesive licale litilungiselele ukuthi nakufika yona inyanga September selikale ma-AFCON qualifiers libe selilungele. Kungasiko nje ukuthi sibuke AFCON kuphela, sibuke nawo onke ama-competitions lakhona latsinza yona i-national team. Sitaba sezingeni lekusho konke lokho nasekufike leso sikhathi.
Umphathi wenhlangano lengamele ibhola kuleli Frederick Mngomedulu uphindze wakhutsata inhlangano ledlalisa ibhola esifundeni sakaHoho ukuthi isebenzise lithuba lemqhudelwano we-Instacash Hoho FA Cup kuthuthukisa abadlali bakulesifundza. Mngomedulu abekhuluma uma kusukunyiswa ngalokusemthethweni lomqhudelwano wesibili we-Instacash Hoho FA Cup eSigwaca House eMbabane.
Sewusukunyiswe ngalokusemthethweni umqhudelwano wesibili we-Instacash Hoho FA Cup wesibili lapho khona inkampani ye-Instacash ifake imali engu-231,000 emalangeni kanti eminyakeni lophelile lo mqhudelwano bewusekelwe ngemali engu-168,000 emalangeni. Akhuluma kulo mcimbi umphathi wenhlangano lengamele ibhola kuleli Frederick Mngomedulu ukhutsate emacembu alesifundza ukuthi asebenzise leli thuba kuthuthukisa temidlalo.
Lokho lesebakwendile kusiniketa insaye yathine labanye lesebholeni nangabe ulicembu kusho ukuthi hamba ukhwice amasokisi noma uphakamise lunyawo lwakho ngendlela wenda ngayo tinto utiphatha kahle kwekucala lokho emsebenzini lo wenda uyadinisela sesiniketiwe ke nemathuba ukuthi nathi singatiphilisa sakhe leyo mali asambeni ke siwathathe emathuba njengoba akhona.
Mandla Ncumalo lo ngumphathi we-Instacash uchazile ukuthi lokhu kuyindlela yokuchubeka nekudlala inzima lenkulu ekuthuthukiseni temidlalo ikakhulukati ibhola kuleli.
The winner I think is the biggest winner this year. Last year they got a cash prize of 5,000 for a one-day tournament. This year, including the kids, it's going up to 7,500. So you must participate, you must win. So out of interest, the 231,000, 70,000 is in kits, in the form of a kit. The rest is monetary. So, but the total is that. So thank you to all the partners that have come through to assist us to actually make it better. And we want to continue to make it better and better.
Sihlalo wenhlangano ledlalisa ibhola esifundeni sakaHoho Comfort Shongo uthi lelithuba batawulisebenzisa kuphakamisa lizinga kulesifundza.
Mr. Mumalo, Instacash, I think, will assist us in completing the puzzle so that we can make these players get better contracts than where we are.
Le midlalo kubheka ukuthi icala mhla ti-17 ngenyanga yeNgci eminyakeni losetulu. Lobikela umsakazo wetithombe yeSwatini TV kutemidlalo ngumpendulo Gumbi kanti umbiko okuhlanganiswe nguFabrice Msonera eMbabane.
Sitaphetha kanjalo ndzaba teSwati sitawubahlola etimakethe sichumana na Ayanda Sigudla masibuya etimakethe.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back to the program. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast Show, the Wednesday edition. Thank you so much for staying with us and for joining us again today. It's an interesting segment we are getting into right now, one that I particularly have a lot of interest in because I am very, very passionate about youth and women empowerment. We're going to welcome Ayanda Sigudla. She's the manager, the project manager of COSPA's Youth and Women Empowerment Project. It is an incredible initiative supported by the European Union. It is making a lot of waves in 18 communities across Livelagangwane. Ayanda, I will want her to share the project, how it is providing 70,000 Malangeni in funding to women and youth with creative and innovative business plans. We normally not hear stories around creative and business plans when it comes to funding, particularly for young men and women. Normally, it's always about, agro-based, as well as the now more than ever, yes, very incumbent to, as well as accelerate the ICT sector within and inculcate it within young men and women. But just the creative and business plans is just as important. And delighted to have this conversation with Ayanda Sigudla about this project. The youth are being trained in entrepreneurship to build sustainable futures. Very important, sustainable futures. Ayanda, welcome to the program. Ayanda joins me via a virtual Zoom link. A very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the program. A very, very important and incredible program. The overview and impact by maybe you giving us an overview of COSPA's Youth and Women Empowerment Project and its primary objectives.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Eswatini, for the invitation. We are always excited to share news about our project. I am Ayanda Sigudla, the project manager of COSPA, and COSPA is an organization that is operating in Eswatini. We are currently running a project that is called Youth and Women for Empowerment and Support. This is a project that has been running for the past year. We are on the second year of the project. It's a 3-year project which is supported by the European Union. This project is a collaboration of 5 organizations. That is Gwaka Invota is one of them, Gamamfat is one of them, Stanvulo Sabomage is another one of them. So this organization with COSPA and Luvati, which is a youth organization, have come together and say, let us respond to the needs of young people and women in Eswatini. This is a project mainly that works with three main components. First of which it is supporting organizations that assist women and youth in Eswatini. So we have two consortiums, which is Limbona Bomage and Swaziland Youth Network. These consortiums have membership of women-led and women-focused groups and youth-led and youth-focused groups. So we are assisting them, strengthening them at organizational level, but as well as a project, we also work with women and youth participation in decision-making in communities. So we are saying, let us see them participating in all spheres in life, starting from a community until to the national level. So we are supporting them in different ways where they come together and dialogue and strategize how they want their issues in the community to be addressed. We do that via a program called the Agenda Elaboration. But
Very
also the
interesting.
third
Okay.
component, which is entrepreneurship, which is led by Gwaka Invota, one of the partners, is focusing on training these groups of women in the 18 communities, groups of about 40 to 45 women and youth. They are training about business planning, how to create a business plan. But before the trainings had, we did an economic mapping, the research that is currently ongoing. And this research is really going around the community and looking at stakeholders within the community and out of the community. It could be an influential person in a government officer who is working in the community. Different people, asking them of possible opportunities of businesses that could be done in the communities that one maybe could not have been tapped to in the past, or some of it is activities that we as Swazis are offering at no cost. But if we could change it into making it a business, then it would work for the group. So all these economic mapping results will come back and be shared to the very groups of young people and women. And from these results, we want the young people to respond to them. And these ideas, we want them to bring on the table should be as innovative as possible, so that we know that if we are supporting this idea, we'll be able to mentor them through for a period of over 12 months and see if they're able to get to a point where they're able to fully stand as businesses.
Yeah.
So we are at the point where they are still establishing, trying to put together a business plan. So we'll be moving over to the second step, where we'll be having a competition in each community, and from that selection, we'll have winners.
Yeah.
Who will receive a seed grant.
I think what we've come to really learn about this project is that it is operating right now, or rather impacting at least 18 communities that are involved. I do want you to tell us, maybe highlight where these communities are. Are these communities in remote areas?
Okay, we have 18 communities in rural areas. 16 of them are in rural areas, and 2 of them are in urban areas, which is Manzini City and Sitegi municipality. So those are the urban ones. Otherwise, the rest are in the rural areas
16.
or even peri-urban areas. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm asking because there's a big government drive to decentralize services as well as opportunities and equities. And it looks like this is very well in that sustainable path that government, is advocating for, if you will. I want you to tell me, just in COSPA's objectives, how do you envision this particular project impacting these 16 communities in the decentralized areas, in the remote areas of Eswatini?
Strategically, we have ensured that this project is able to touch everyone. We know that as much as we are supporting business, but it is not all people in the communities that will be doing business. So, but we know that when it comes to decision making and things done in the community, it will impact anyone. It's either your business acumen is there or not, you are trained or not, all the decisions are done. So we try by all means that this project is engaging community leaders, all people that are of influence. We are working on ensuring that all women and youth are empowered such that they occupy the spaces of leadership. With experience, we've seen Bomake bangenile kubandla kancane, sibabonile abantu labasha bangenile kubandla kancane, and other subcommittees that are in communities. So we're saying, leave no young person, no woman behind in the process of decision making. Let them participate fully in these processes. So when they are making those decisions and sitting in those situations, any opportunities that are coming in the communities, they will impact the youth and they will be part of the decision and direct the assistance to them. So we are saying, leave no young person behind, leave no woman behind in the process of decision making. In that way, this project will be able to impact all the communities that we're working in.
Certainly, I concur with you there. I often have conversations with my friends just looking at a lot of leadership dynamics in a lot of countries, really, and we always talk about participation, but most importantly, the representation, because that also speaks to that young girl and young man aspiring to be somebody in the future. If they see that there's a Ayanda, there's a Sifiso in a position of leadership, then they are, yearning for aspiring is lit and further fueled. Let's get into the selection criteria. It's very important because, we speak about projects like this, there's always monies involved and everybody wants a piece of the cake. But the reality of the situation is that it is not going to be everybody. So let's talk about maybe your selection criteria, the one that you used to select the youth and women who will receive, I believe, 70,000 in funding.
Okay, first, the selection is, they're still in the process of putting together the business plan. Training is still ongoing. First is with the selection of the jury that will sit and sit over these applications that will be coming through. First, we'll have to select people that are in the space which are looking at rural development or development as a whole. It should be people that have worked with entrepreneurs, which is young people. There should be a gender balance as we are selecting this entrepreneurs. This jury as they are sitting. From there, the next step will be sitting with this jury, looking at the things that have been done to put on the table. Like we have said, definitely one of the requirements is innovation. There should be innovation in that. The indigenous chickens that we've always been getting, they will not be on top of the list. We are receiving those applications. There is no problem with receiving them, but we'll ensure that the applications that will receive the seed grant are ones that are innovative. Two, they should be profitable within the community. There should be sustainable projects that we see that, do you have the means and resources within the communities that will fuel this business that you are starting? In terms of a market, is there a ready market that is there in the communities, or you will be looking for it outside of the community? So this business plan should be very clear with the strategies that we'll use. But I must say, in our business plan, because we do understand that we are dealing with young people, we are dealing with women. Applications will be received, can be handwritten, can be in both English or Siswati. Sorry, it should be one of the two languages. So we are as inclusive as possible. So even in the way you try to write your business plan, we do not want to be exclusive, but really it's an affirmative action for us to say, even if it's handwritten, as long as it makes sense, it makes business sense, and there's calculated risks, and you somehow know where you are going in terms of getting market, getting your raw material. If it's service to the people you're giving service, do you know where they are? How will you get there? All those nitty-gritties will make sure that when we are selecting the winners, we'll be able to take the best that has presented very well.
Yeah, we speak of innovative and creative business plans. I'm sort of compelled to ask and inquire on what these are really, the ones you're looking for, because I see innovation and creativity spanning across a lot of, businesses. I've seen tech startups, with cutting edge software developing. I've seen biotechnology firms and startups as well, green energy firms, e-commerce, and now the advent of, digital content creation that we have seen in recent time. What are some of, do you have specific creative and innovative business plans that you are looking for, or even if it's something that you hadn't really put in black and white, maybe on your focus, if it's something that you find creative and innovative, you're also, forthcoming and open-minded in welcoming that as well?
It will be fun for us to already think what people will think. What innovation is for them. And innovation is different for me. So we do not want to really spell it out and say this innovation. But what I can say is what we have realized, there's so much potential in Eswatini when it comes to the social things that they do on a daily basis. We have Batututeli, for instance, that have been providing so much work for the past years. And you find that currently they're very Batututeli because we know the situation of our government where they no longer have all the resources they had in the past in terms of providing medication and whatnot, but they were really providing first aid services in the communities. And what if that Magem Tututel says, you know what, let me make this professional, let me get all this equipment, buy it with myself, and if I'm supposed to visit a sick person, maybe the family can pay so that every 2 days of the week, I will take them a bath, I administer medication that the doctor has already prescribed, I clean their houses.
Yeah.
And this is not to say you are providing a service, you are coming there as a company to provide service that, okay, we know there's a sick person here, and cleaning up a well cleaned up place where a sick person should back to tell you know this. They have the skill, they have been trained, but they're not using the skill to make a living out of it currently. So if someone could say, this is a gift I have, I love doing what I'm doing, well, we no longer have the resources that we had in the past, why don't I turn this into a business? In the community. For instance, this is something that they already are doing. But if they think of turning it into a business and have a great idea around it, so we're not even looking for things that are out of this world. But they're saying, what is it that you have? What are the resources that we have? How can you turn this into a business and make a living out of it? So we are not really looking for, and we are really understanding that this is at community level and rural level, and the resources that they have within the level to make sure that this business is sustainable really need to be cognizant of the environment around the young people and the women in the communities. So yes, innovation, we're saying they should go as far as they can, let them think, and the process of ideation, they are going through it as they are training. So ideation is still in the process right now. We are hoping to get good results out of it.
I like it. I love it so much because it also, gives them a sort of comfort, because sometimes the environments that we live in sort of, do not allow you to really think outside of the box, but you can really still think inside of the box and make something creative and innovative there. Let's get into training and support. I think it's very important we look into what kind of entrepreneurship training will the participants receive, because we've seen in the past mistakes that have been fixed, by the way, that people get funding and then they are left with the funding and there's no training behind, these programs. Do you have trainings that are in place for the participants?
Okay. The launch of the seed grant, and I emphasize this is seed grant, it's not a loan. First, if you want to support young people, as much as I agree, the loan way is more sustainable because it keeps the money alive for other people to get assistance.
Yeah.
But the situation is with businesses that start in the next 3-4 months, they usually die in Swaziland because you find that for different reasons, really. It could be the market is not ready for the product that you are selling, or for different reasons. So as a project, we're saying, no, let's make this a grant. But what we will do is you will have a mentor for the next 12 months, and this money you shall get it in tranches according to your plan. So on a month-to-month basis, you have a person hand-holding you through the process of the implementation of the business. So we will have them for over 12 months if we're giving it. So by 2025, we should have a good round of the 12 months with them, and let's see how they're able to stand on their own. But also on the mentorship program, we are linking them with similar businesses that are already established in the country. So we'll only identify them once we've got which other businesses that have been able to succeed in getting the seed grant. So we mentor them with them, so they'll always have a call, they'll always have visitations and learn in practice on the similar business, how they do it. So yes, with young people, we are not taking the risk of letting them run with the business on their own. We make sure that we mentor them all the way, including the women too.
Yeah, and I'm sure that also speaks to, the sustainability as well as growth of the businesses, and I think that is very, very key. But I also just want to ask, how does the support from the European Union enhance the project's effectiveness? We've been seeing what the EU has been doing with a lot of, young people in particular, very, very keen interest that they have for young people in Eswatini, and it calls for plaudits what they're doing with you as well. How do you appreciate and acknowledge this, partnership that you have with the EU?
We appreciate it so much. European Union has become a partner to this project, not just a funder, but a partner, and understanding that as we are writing the project, we dream of how we want to see the 3 years. They're handholding what together in this process, and them as a commission in Swaziland also have other programs for young people, which tells you that they really do see young people striving in the business sector, but also employability with other projects that they are currently running. So yes, we do appreciate they supported us in the past projects, and they continue to support us throughout when it comes to projects that are supporting women and youth in Eswatini. And there's so many other programs that the European Union is doing. I would really encourage the young people of Eswatini to follow their pages. There are other programs that are there currently. There's a grant that is running. They should go there and find out what it is. So I'm saying just get close and understand who's on the ground as entrepreneurship, know how do you apply, know how just be in a space where you'll ensure that you get inspired and learn what other organizations are doing in Eswatini. Otherwise, young people are really doing a great job in Eswatini. It's not as bad as we read on the newspapers and everywhere. Otherwise, we are trying honestly as young people.
Yeah, and we've been seeing how these agencies are always instrumental in implementing policies that speak particularly in just human development, but more than ever, young people, because most economies anyway are a young population. Let's talk about measuring success. And it's very important because we speak about such projects and we often get caught up in, the now, but we want to focus how we are going to measure the success of these projects. How do you envision you guys measuring the success of this particular project?
Let me tell you with past experiences that we've had, because this project is a rollout of a past project that we've had. We've had 100% success with the entrepreneurs that we've had.
Wow.
It's just that all
Impressive.
projects have a life. So if it's 3 years, we can just mentor and run you throughout the 3 years. We do try to run and follow you post the project, especially if there are other projects to support the previous one. We do. But otherwise, with young people and with women, as long as you handhold them, someone they can call and say, you know what, I think I'm having a challenges with this, that, and the other, and you are able to assist them, especially with rural areas. They don't have the resources that are there. But if there are organizations in town that will provide support, such that support would really be, are you coming this side? Can you buy this for me so that I can already he's saved on transport money? So yes, with success in the businesses, it's 100%. But let me emphasize, this project is not only entrepreneurship. So many other areas that we are already seeing fruits of the projects. On the first pillar, as I saying, supporting CSO, what we've done with the non-government organizations in Swaziland is help them with sub-grants that have helped them to structure themselves as organization and strengthen themselves. They've been implementing, some of them are almost closing their projects, and we are seeing a really good results. The reports are coming back. Others have new policies, have worked on their financial policies. Others have worked with their strategic plan, and already we are seeing fruit coming from it. But also we'll be having pilot actions for each community, and we're looking forward for a good success. But so far, really the project is doing well when it comes to the results.
Very, very, very impressive, and I'll tell you that much. Just speaking on some of the milestones that you guys have hit, it gives me a lot of confidence with this particular project, and I do pray and hope that even this one you'll have 100% achievement again. It's a very important project that you are doing. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Any last words you want to share perhaps in encouraging other stakeholders, potential stakeholders, or rather just people to really tap into empowering young people?
No, I'd just like to thank our partnership with all the other organizations that we are in these organizations, that is Luvati, Siraka, Mamfati, Kwaka Ingbota. We are working very well, the collaboration. As COSPE, we are happy to collaborate with as many organizations as possible. So do reach out. We are happy to collaborate, and let's just sit down and see synergies and how we can work together. But of course, the European Union, with their partnership, is making things easy for us to work with other CSOs in Swaziland. And we are really hopeful that we'll be doing more projects with different organizations in the country. And thank you for the opportunity for us to allow us to share what we do as COSPEN as a project, AS project. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity once again.
All right, you go and have a lovely day. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. That was Ayanda Sikudla. She's the project manager of COSPE's Youth and Women Empowerment Project. It is an incredible initiative. I have said this many times. It is helping young men and women start up their creative and innovative business with a 70,000 Malangeni funding supported by the European Union. And of course, they do have other stakeholders as implementing agencies. And we hope that it's going to be a fruitful project, just like the many other projects that they've had. Let's go for a net break. We'll look at Tinzabate Singisi Mosbuyet Magete.
sabatandi ukuthi njengaloku sifile sive sithi khulumeni
kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba-researche bafunze.
being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula
nathi kufuna sele ukukhicita lokhu kusembili.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're still watching the Wednesday edition of Kusile Breakfast Show, and we are just getting into our third segment of the show, which is the English news. And starting it up is a story from the Deputy Prime Minister's office, where Deputy Prime Minister Senator Kusile has received 100 dignity packs for boys and girls donated by the United Nations Population Fund. The Deputy Prime Minister said these packs will bring back lost self-esteem to beneficiaries.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Kusile Dladla, received dignity packs for both boys and girls from the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA Eswatini, on Tuesday. UNFPA Eswatini Head of Office Margaret Twala said the 100 packs include pads, toothbrush, toothpaste, body lotions, among other dignity items.
The EU and different partners, they are all contributing to ensure that dignity is maintained. So we are happy that as UNFPA, as part of supporting you and your office, we'll be donating 100 dignity kits or dignity packs, as the ambassador mentioned. And the dignity, it's dignity because we want the life of the girl dignified. But we've also recently expanded the dignity kits to also focus on the boy child, so that the boy child is not left.
Receiving the packs, the Deputy Prime Minister said these kids are important to vulnerable children in schools and that this will bring back the lost self-esteem.
If we let these kids drop out of school because of naku lo ngeke akwati lokhu utawucabanga ukuthi siyakhuluma nje. This is very, very important. It forms part of equality life. Without this, that is why we're going to experience a high number of dropouts. a high number of children labatawurepeater. So siyabonga nje kakhulu, sithembise nathi ukuthi sitawuchubeka sisebenze ngokutikhandla.
These two offices also partners in tackling gender-based violence issues amongst other social ills. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkal Swekhoza with Simuva Shongwe, Babane.
21-year-old Senzo Hleta, who sought audience with His Majesty King Mswati III during his tour of Manzini Lifestyle Center, is now employed by the Eswatini Oil and Meal Industries. Now, this was said by the Deputy Prime Minister Kusile during a visit of Hleta's home at Mgonini.
The 21-year-old Senzo Hleta wanted to have audience with His Majesty King Mswati III during his tour at the Manzini Lifestyle Center. The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Kusile on Monday, paid courtesy visit to the family at Ngonini, where she learned that the Gunene house was cut down by fire in December 2022 and developed cracks. The Deputy Prime Minister then delivered good news to the Gunene family.
Sambika ke naye kuye wekunene ukuthi kunalomunye umntwana lokhale ngako kona kunzinza. Yasithuma ke ukuthi site sto bavusela. Nangibale siyakhanza vele njalo bangasebenzi bude vele bangakudla. Umntwana lapho yasho ukuthi uthanza icarpentry. Sitawubuka kumbe eminyakeni lodako ukuthi ahambe ayifundzela. Kwanyalo lapha kaSomi Oils lapha inkosi beyikhona khona. Bathi te batamthatha ete atobamba umsebenzi lapha ngawubamba khona.
Senzo could not stop himself and extended his gratitude, adding that he even dropped out of school due to financial challenges.
Ngithi angibonga kakhulu kuye Silo Mswati inkosi kusinika leli phuba leli kusemukela futhi sitintsanza netakhe naku lengakubonga ukuthi akhona kuvumela mange etato sibona kulesimo lesinjena. Ngithi bayethu naphakathi mswazi omnyama kulabathulu lotongandaba sembelebeleni lotongandaba semampondweni.
Senzo's mother, Nonhlanhla Kunene, echoed his son's words and appreciated government for urgently responding to their needs.
Ngiyabonga kusilo sikhulu, ngiyabonga kungwenyama, ngiyabonga umbangisitha. Kulokhu lakangentele kona lisuku lanamuhla.
The Deputy Prime Minister also said government is mandated to end poverty and asked that a Maswati who has knowledge of families, children, elderly and persons with disabilities who live under unconducive conditions to contact the Deputy Prime Minister's office. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samkal Swekhoza, Ngonini.
The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Honorable Apollo Mapalala, says government is addressing the issue of shortage of resources and personnel within the fire and emergency service in order to ensure quality service delivery. The minister has said this when responding to what government is doing to meet the needs of the fire as well as the emergency services.
Wildfires ravaged most parts of the country this past weekend and left a trail of destruction. Firefighters were all over putting out fires, but they find themselves short-staffed and operating with limited resources due to the fact that the fire was all over the country and indeed they were overstretched. The news crew interviewed the Minister for Housing and Urban Development to find more about means being done by the ministry to ensure the availability of resources for the fire department. The minister says, amongst other things, firefighters' recruitment exercise is underway to add to the fire personnel.
In our budget, we have prioritized the purchasing of new cars among other resources needed. So currently, the procurement exercise is underway as well. The 3 substations did not have enough fire personnel, therefore we will increase the fire personnel. We will also increase fire engines, which is in our budget. We are also in talks with the Ministry of Public Service to hire more people, as you will remember that hiring was frozen.
We do have development partners in the country. Have you tried approaching them for assistance?
Yes, we have sent requests, actually even with other local entities who have promised to help.
Eswatini has 10 fire stations with 3 substations included, which will have firefighters in no time. For Eswatini TV News, I am Kian Msibi with Smova Shongwe and Nompumelelo Khumalo Mbabane.
The Kingdom of Eswatini hosted the first preparatory World Radio Communication meeting, and Senator Savannah Mazia, represented by Pesha Dube, says SADC countries will have the opportunity to address challenges as well as areas for improvement during the main meeting, which is scheduled for 2027.
The Kingdom of Eswatini is the host of the first preparatory session of the World Radio Communication Conference. The Minister for Information, Communication and Technology, Senator Savannah Mazia, represented by the Principal Secretary, the Minister of ICT, Pesha Dube, emphasized the importance of this preparatory meeting as a crucial opportunity for SADC countries to tackle existing challenges and identify areas of improvement.
Is more than a technical forum. It is a catalyst for progress. It shapes the global framework for radio frequencies, ensuring their efficient and equitable use. But beyond the technicalities lies a profound impact on our lives. From seamless communication to emergency services, from broadcasting to satellite navigation, the decisions made at WRC cut across our societies. As members of the Southern African Development Community, we recognize our collective responsibility to strengthen our regional position in global telecommunications. Our region has played a pivotal role in previous WRCs, advocating for the first spectrum allocation and safeguarding our interests. It would be amiss to be oblivious of the achievements of WRC 23, in which our region was in the forefront of the degraded orbital slot restoration.
Matthias Barges, representing the Ministry of Telecommunication, Information and Technology in Angola, says this meeting is the first of its kind and the anticipation is that most of the challenges faced by the region will be addressed.
In telecommunication world, is important that we can speak in all the same language, harmonize the position in terms of spectrum, in terms of satellites, in terms of telecommunication, in order that we can discuss and bring all the one issues, one voice in terms of Africa, in terms of SADC, in WRC.
The discussions at the preparatory meeting focused on a range of critical issues, including spectrum management, satellite communication, and the deployment of next-generation networks. Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni with Temba Shabango, Ezulwini.
The Eswatini Sugar Association has recorded a 7.4 billion emalangeni revenue in the year 2023-2024. The Chief Executive Officer, Banele Nyamane, shared this when highlighting how they performed for the year ended in March this year.
Even though the volume significantly increased, we got the highest revenues ever in the history of the industry. We ended up at 7.4 billion emalangeni. Kulo 7.4 billion, what we then distribute to the members of the association was 6.5 billion, which is also the highest they've ever got. Of that 6.5 billion emalangeni, 4.1 billion goes to the growers of the sugar cane. So we are optimistic that our members were able to realize better returns despite the significant drop in volume. Of that revenue, what pleases us is that we brought back into the country $98 million US, and also 36 million euros, which is very significant contributor in terms of the reserves.
The Chief Executive Officer says they continue to look for more markets even in East Africa and the Southern African Customs Union region.
In terms of the decline in yields, we've also put in some interventions on that, especially retraining mainly our small growers on the good practices of growing sugarcane. We have also added resources in terms of assisting the farmer associations with their disputes. I'm sure some of you might have seen a number of disputes, some ending up in court. So we've added staff in the form of sociologists to try and assist the association in resolving their problems before they start affecting production.
He states that they are looking for more resilient yields to avoid losses due to climate change. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Dlangamandla, Junior Adakwa, Mbabane.
The National Disaster Management Agency says the country continues to experience a series of destructive forest and wildfires, which started on the 7th of July 2024. Now, in a press release, the agency says this has resulted in widespread destruction of property, loss of wildlife, and temporary displacement of some families. Now, the agency says, according to reports received and those from the National Fire and Emergency Rescue Service Department, 28 households suffered various damages, affecting about 148 people. The agency says the damaged properties range from household furniture, vehicles, food, water systems, and others. The agency further says the raging fires also damaged businesses such as forest plantations, sugarcane fields, telephone and electricity lines, spaza shops, among others. Now, in response to the crisis, the agency says it has so far been able to provide support intervention to 11 households, providing them with mattresses, blankets, as well as food parcels, with the aim of restoring a sense of normalcy as well as dignity. Now, with the remaining 14 minutes before we wrap up our English news, we are going to look at news coming from the international front. A lethal strike on a children's hospital in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, was likely caused by a direct hit from a Russian missile. The head of the United Nations Human Rights Monitoring Mission said this on Tuesday.
The very place where sick children are meant to be safe and to receive help. It is now blown apart, one of its buildings a pile of rubble and dust. Rescue workers continue to secure Ukraine's largest pediatric hospital after it was hit Monday. Nearly 700 children were receiving treatment there, and over 1,000 staff were helping them when the explosives eviscerated part of the structure.
At the moment, all the patients from the damaged units are either discharged or evacuated to other hospitals. Those who require medical aid are being treated in parts of the hospital that have not been damaged. Debris removal is underway.
Ukrainian authorities say that Russia struck its main children's hospital with a Kh-101 cruise missile. Such missiles carry hundreds of kilos of explosives. Russia denies responsibility for the attack, saying they don't target civilians. Moscow claims that it was a Ukrainian defense missile. But Ukraine's security services say that they found fragments of a Russian Kh-101 with its serial number. And the United Nations agrees. The hit on the children's hospital was likely of Russian origin.
Analysis of the video footage and assessment made at the incident site indicates a high likelihood that the children's hospital suffered a direct hit.
In addition to the attack on the children's hospital, 7 out of 10 of Kyiv's districts were also hit, making Monday one of the heaviest bombings and deadliest days in the capital in nearly 4 months. Several other cities were also targeted. Tuesday was declared a day of mourning, but attacks like this one on an oil refinery continued.
Ukraine is desperate for more air defenses, and this week's NATO summit in Washington offers President Volodymyr Zelensky an opportunity to push Kyiv supporters for additional batteries to protect against Russian strikes.
In Poland, on the eve of the NATO summit in Washington, the Ukrainian president sent a message to his Western allies.
I expect very concrete answers and steps from our partners at the NATO summit.
will have a meeting dedicated to reinforcing Ukraine's air defenses, to our civilian infrastructure, water supplies, and the energy grid.
Volodymyr Zelensky has been warning of Ukraine's gap in air defences for months, at a time when its army is retreating on several fronts. Highlighting the threat, Ukrainian officials said more than 30 people were killed on Monday by a wave of Russian missiles. The Ukrainian president is also expected to push for a quicker path to joining NATO, though several members oppose extending any formal invitation. Meanwhile, the three-day summit is being held against a backdrop of political uncertainty. Leaders like Germany's Olaf Scholz and France's Emmanuel Macron weakened by electoral setbacks. And in the US, questions continue to swirl about Joe Biden's physical and mental fitness. According to the White House, though, it's not an issue of concern for Washington's partners.
I think the question presupposes the notion that they need to be reassured of American leadership and President Biden's commitment, and I don't believe that's the case. We're not picking up any signs of that from our allies at all, quite the contrary.
NATO members are also anxiously awaiting the results of November's US presidential election. The prospect of a second Trump term has alarmed many in Europe, fearing he may rethink American commitments to NATO or Ukraine or withdraw them completely.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday told President Vladimir Putin that war cannot solve problems and urged peace on a trip to Moscow over 2 years into the Ukraine offensive.
That will be seen around the world. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi plants a hug on Vladimir Putin as his first state visit to Russia in 5 years got underway.
Dear friend, you are welcome. I'm pleased to see you.
New Delhi is caught up in a tricky balancing act as it looks westward by diversifying its arms supplies, while at the same time not alienating one of its staunchest allies. Narendra Modi's visit was criticized by Ukraine's president, who said it would be devastating for peace. This despite the fact that the Indian Prime Minister once again told Vladimir Putin to his face that this isn't a time for war.
I have always told you that peace is a must for a bright future. So we believe that war is not the solution. A solution cannot be through war. When we see innocent children dying, then the heart pains. And that pain is very horrible.
Modi's comments come a day after Ukraine pointed the finger of blame at Russia for targeting a children's hospital in Kyiv. But while the Indian Prime Minister may have delivered a statement in Moscow that will please Ukraine's Western allies, he did say the friendship between the two sides remains strong. Modi's presence in the Russian capital will also be used by Putin to illustrate how he isn't isolated on the world stage.
Beryl was downgraded on Monday evening to a tropical depression after slamming to the southern U.S. state of Texas as a Category 1 hurricane, killing at least 4 people and causing millions to lose power amid scorching summer heat. There's a report.
Floodwaters so high that only the tops of the trees are showing. Highways and streets turned into fast-flowing rivers. Rooftops and siding ripped by the force of the winds. Trees toppled in front of homes and cars. In Houston, Texas, residents ventured out to assess the damages left by Beryl, the once Category 5 hurricane that's been downgraded but still managed to wreak havoc in her path.
For a Category 1 storm, it's quite a bit of damage for a Category 1. It's more than we expected.
I mean, this is just the beginning of July. And for us to have a storm of this magnitude is very rare.
As Beryl plundered Texas and the Gulf Coast, some 3 million homes were at the peak on Monday without power. Officials said they're painstakingly trying to repair the damages. And the acting governor took stock of the storm.
Every storm is a lesson. And I've lived in Texas now for over 40 years. We've had a lot of storms and a lot of lessons. And this storm says, even if it's a Category 1, that might as well be a Cat 5 storm to you if you're in the middle of it. So the lesson I hope everyone for this time is we take no hurricane or no tropical storm for granted.
While it is now weaker, Beryl is still expected to cause strong winds and flooding in neighboring states, as it did here in Galveston, Texas on the Gulf Coast. The storm will go down in the history books as the earliest Category 5 hurricane in the Atlantic to date, with its intensity and its premature timing due to climate change.
United States President Joe Biden is not being treated for Parkinson's disease and has not seen a neurologist outside of his annual physicals. The White House said this on Monday after the New York Times reported that visitor logs showed a doctor specializing in the illness visited the White House at least 8 times from August through March. There's a report.
A testy back and forth breaks out between journalists and the White House press secretary. This as questions swirl about Joe Biden's fitness after a recent New York Times article claimed a Parkinson's expert visited the premises 8 times in 8 months.
Hold on a second. There's no reason to go back and forth and be in this aggressive way.
Miffed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps about him.
What are you missed about? What are you missed
Everything
about?
is asked about.
And then every time I come back and I answer the question that you guys asked.
Correctly, you didn't have to come back and clean it up.
I never answered the question incorrectly. That is not true.
The White House is vehemently denying the president has Parkinson's or is being treated for the disease. The administration is eager to demonstrate to U.S. allies that all is well with Joe Biden as a NATO summit gets underway in Washington.
I think the question presupposes the notion that they need to be reassured of American leadership and President Biden's commitment, and I don't believe that's the case.
Joe Biden started the week calling into U.S. media outlet MSNBC. He also penned a letter to Democrats in Congress reaffirming his commitment to stay in the race, a sentiment echoed by the First Lady to chants of 4 more years.
That's the decision that he's made, and just as he has always supported my career, I am all in too.
Dr. Biden, do you have any message to House Democrats who are calling for your husband to drop out of the race?
Jill Biden and close family have reportedly become more involved in Biden's re-election campaign following a recent debate debacle against Donald Trump. But there's little they'll be able to do to shield the president, who's due to hold a solo press conference when the NATO summit wraps up on Thursday.
United States lawmakers returned to the nation's capital this week for the first time since President Joe Biden's debate against presumptive presidential Republican nominee Donald Trump, which happened in June.
U.S. President Joe Biden facing questions from within his own party this week as lawmakers return to Washington and concerns that Biden's poor debate performance will quash his chances to beat Donald Trump in the November general election.
He just has to step down because he can't win.
Representative Mike Quigley, one of a handful of House and Senate Democrats who have publicly expressed concerns that Biden has not made the case he is healthy enough to serve another 4 years. But the majority of Democrats still pledge their support.
President Biden is the nominee, and we support the Democratic nominee that will be Donald Trump. That is a fact.
The White House said Biden's debate performance was a temporary misstep.
He had a bad night. We've talked about it. He understands people's concerns. We have been out there, as we have been in previous months. You see from his engagement with everyday people on the ground.
One analyst told VOA that lawmakers aren't the only ones Biden needs to win over.
He needs to hear their concerns. He needs to be honest with them about where he has liabilities and what his plan is to attack those liabilities. But he also has a PR problem with voters out there. It matters a lot that Democrats sitting lawmakers are upset with their own candidate. But it matters more if voters don't see him as a viable option.
Top House Republicans said Tuesday administration officials should consider using a constitutional amendment that allows the vice president to remove an incapacitated president from office.
There is no longer any doubt that Joe Biden is unfit to be our commander-in-chief. The Biden White House, far-left House Democrats, and the mainstream media are in complete disarray because they know this to be true.
But with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer not wavering in his support,
I'm with Joe.
The scenario of replacing Biden with Vice President Kamala Harris as the nominee is still unlikely.
This is probably the most significant election of our lifetime.
Democrats will formally appoint their nominee at their convention in mid-August.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan called this week for a dialogue with Syria concerning the return of millions of refugees following protests and rioting by Turks who want their government to stop hosting refugees from Syria's 13-year-old civil war.
This month's rioting against Syrian refugees across several Turkish cities triggered President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's call for dialogue with his Syrian counterpart Bashar al-Assad. Erdogan wants to discuss a way to return the Syrian refugees who Turkey has hosted since the start of the Syrian conflict in 2011.
In this environment, the Syrians become an easy target, and the country is fed up with their presence, rightly or wrongly. And this is a very important political issue. Therefore, it is pretty important that at least a semblance of orderly departure for the Syrians who are in Turkey can be presented to the country in a believable way.
Growing animosity towards the more than 3 million Syrian refugees in Turkey, along with nearly triple-digit inflation, were key factors behind the losses Erdogan's party suffered in the March elections. Analysts say Russian leader Vladimir Putin welcomes Erdogan's efforts to open dialogue with Syria, as it could represent a loss of Turkish support for the Syrian rebels and an end to the civil war. This would be advantageous to the Russian leader as he looks to shift his military resources from Syria to Ukraine.
It's the Russian. It's Moscow who want to open a dialogue between Damascus and Ankara. But for the moment, of course, Moscow is busy with Ukraine.
But Turkey's significant military presence in Syria could be a stumbling block to talks. Turkish forces are deployed to fight Kurdish forces that Ankara accuses of being linked to separatists in Turkey. Analysts say Damascus will likely press for Turkey's withdrawal of its forces from Syria as the price for the talks.
Bashar al-Assad is dependent on Russians and Iranians, and also to local warlords, and even inside his close circle, he needs to depend on other partners. So it's really, he cannot, as Bashar al-Assad cannot push Turkey out of Turkish military presence out of Syria. He can only ask for Ankara to withdraw these troops and then start to talk with Ankara.
Erdogan rules out withdrawing Turkish forces from Syria, saying it's a matter of national security. Along with the riots in Turkey, unrest broke out in the rebel-held areas of northeastern Syria last week, amid fears that Ankara may be preparing to abandon the rebels. There are also concerns that a Turkish pullout could bring a humanitarian disaster and reprisal by Assad forces.
The regime come back in this area. The people, most of the people want to move to Turkey. And for Turkey, it's not possible to welcome 4 million of new refugees. Because these people know very well that if they stay under the control of the regime.
With tensions high in Turkey over the presence of Syrian refugees, Erdogan looks to Putin to soften Assad's stance on talks.
Let's just go through these leading sports stories. The Eswatini Football Association Chief Executive Officer Frederick Mgomedulu says the process of hiring the new Sihlangu Semnikati head coach continues, with the country to be informed about the new coach before the end of this month. Mgomedulu was speaking to Eswatini TV Sports in Mbabane.
Cities.
All right, we'll go for an ad break. We'll go there using our weather focus of the day.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007 *3 *7 hash. Or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any NetBank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Right, 36 minutes after 7. Thank you so much for staying with us on the program. You're still watching the Wednesday edition of Kusile Breakfast Show. We get into the last segment of our program today, which is an interview segment. And we have Dr. Mdumiseni Dlamini, who is an environmental scientist. He's also the coordinator for the Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Research. Pardon me. He's also a lecturer under the Department of Geography, Environmental Science, as well as Planning. He's here to help us, understand and dissect the pressing issues surrounding the recent strong winds and wildfires that have left a trail of destruction across the country. As reported, approximately 113 people, and I believe it's more than that today, now that it's a Wednesday, 113 people have been displaced and significant damage has been done to homes, cars, sugarcane fields, as well as other people's plantations. Dr. Dlamini will now provide us with insights into the causes, perhaps the impact on the community, and what measures can be taken to mitigate such disasters in the future. Dr. Dlamini, thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Dlamini joins us via a Zoom video link. Ngosi, as I welcome you into the program, I want to put it frankly into our viewers as well that you did share a document with me just that highlights wildfires. And what I'm peeking from there is that they are not really an anomaly. Perhaps what is deviating from the normal this time around is maybe the rate. If you will, start by explaining the primary causes behind the recent strong winds and wildfires we have experienced.
Oh, thank you very much, Nguni, and also to the viewers. I think it's very important to perhaps highlight that fires, as we know them, are normally or typically caused by some key factors.
Right.
Now, what we know is that fires require three things to actually occur. They call them the fire triangle. It's weather conditions, it's the fuel characteristics, which is the fuel is basically what is burning, the grass, the trees. And then the topography, which is the terrain, the mountains, the valleys, and so on and so forth. So those are the three things that determine fires. But to just come to this particular incident, which is the recent incident of fires, the main cause of that was because we had a cold front. I'm sure you might have seen from the weather forecast from our Eswatini meteorological services, wherein they did indicate that we were having a cold front. Now, what happens then is that during this time of the year, it becomes very windy. Now, the wind is basically caused by, high pressure systems and low pressure systems. So when you have a high pressure system and a low pressure system, what happens is that the wind flows from high pressure to the low pressure. So when you have a big difference between the high pressure and low pressure system, you have very strong winds. So basically, wind is like flowing from high to low. So when you have very high and very low, so the speed will then increase. So that is basically what we were faced with in the last couple of days. And unfortunately, then, those weather conditions, which were favorable, combined with the fact that it's cold, basically, then dryness of the vegetation.
Okay. Okay. I want us to, you're speaking of strong winds and low winds, for lack of a better term there. I'm really trying to, grasp everything that you are saying. It's quite, a lot and a bit complex, so to speak. But what we have been made aware of is that the winds were traveling at speeds of up to 100 kilometers per hour. Is that common for strong winds in our region in particular? Doctor, I'm not too sure if you heard me, but I just want to repeat the question. We have learned that the strong winds that occurred were traveling at a speed of 100 kilometers per hour. I just want to know if that is common in our region in particular. All right, I think we are losing Dr. Dlamini there, facing a bit of connectivity issues, but with the hopes that he is going to rejoin this conversation. And this particular, discussion that we want to have is pertaining what we have been seeing in recent days, powerful gas and forest fires that have caused widespread devastation in the country. We have seen the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development chiming into what is their mandate regarding, the under-resourced fire and emergency services. There they are assuring us that they will see to it that should we be hit by this particular situation next year, at least we have enough resources to respond as the fire emergency. But let's go for a net break. Hopefully that when we come back, Dr. Dlamini will have rejoined the conversation.
Heard about contaminated syrup harming children and even causing death in some cases. There have been reports about falsified diabetes and weight loss treatments. We're going to talk about substandard and falsified medical products today. How can you protect yourself, and how does WHO keep you safe from these products? Here to talk about it is Pernet Bordillo Esteve. Welcome, Pernet. Pernet, talk to us about falsified and substandard medical products. What do we mean by these terms?
Thank you, Vismita. So a substandard product is one that has basically lost its attributes of quality, perhaps through degradation. It's become out of specification. A falsified product is one that deliberately misrepresents its composition, identity, or source. There is an intent to deceive. And both substandard and falsified medical products may contain the wrong active ingredients. They might have been manufactured in unsanitary conditions. They will most likely not treat you for the condition for which they were intended, and sometimes they can even be toxic, as in the case of the contaminated syrups that you've just mentioned. Both substandard and falsified medical products harm patients, and there's a wide range of socioeconomic and public health impact attached to these.
So Pernette, explain to us, how are these medical products allowed to exist and circulate, and how do they actually reach people, and how can people protect themselves?
So they're not supposed to be allowed to exist. Falsified medical products are by definition very difficult to detect. They can be almost similar or identical to the original or the genuine product. And a substandard product often requires laboratory analysis to be identified as such. There are three major forces that drive the existence of substandard and falsified medical products. The first is constrained access. This means, is the product available? For example, a shortage of acceptability. Can you accept this product? And affordability. Can you afford to pay for it? The other driving forces are technical capacity. Is there the capacity to detect the product?
So you're talking about capacity of a country.
This is about being able to do the laboratory testing to identify these products. And once you have identified it, you have got to be able to report it, to share the information. And that requires quite a lot of technical capacity. And the third major driving force is poor governance. This includes corruption, unethical practices, and weak administrative structures. So you don't need all three driving forces to converge for substandard and falsified medical products to exist. A single one is enough, but populations where these forces converge are the most vulnerable.
So how can we all protect ourselves?
Well, people need to have access to safe and quality medical products. And that's why WHO works closely with national regulatory authorities, those very institutions who are the best place to safeguard the public from these substandard and falsified medical products.
So Pernette, once WHO receives an alert about a falsified or substandard medicine or medical product, what happens next?
So as soon as we receive a report in the WHO Global Surveillance and Monitoring System, the first thing that we do is to validate the information. Then we identify and assess the risks, and that allows us to determine what are the immediate actions that are needed to protect public health. We work with a wide network of public authorities and experts to understand the nature and the scope of the danger. We'll provide technical assistance to countries who are dealing with the incident, and when necessary, we'll communicate about the risk, for example, with the WHO Global Medical Product Alerts that you have seen. This is really a very global issue. Our network reports to us all sorts of medicines, antibiotics, cancer medicines, hormones, vaccines. Every single therapeutic category in every single form is affected by this. In the past year, we've spent a lot of time working on the examples that you mentioned earlier, which are the liquid medicines contaminated with antifreeze and also the falsified weight loss diabetes type 2 products. It's very important to report early because a timely report from one country can save lives in another country. Good quality information is what will guarantee effective interventions. So if you or someone that you know suspects to have been exposed to a substandard or a falsified medical product, or if the medicine has not worked as you expected, or if there was an unexpected adverse reaction, please talk to your healthcare professional about it as soon as possible, your doctor, your pharmacist, your community healthcare professional. We all have a role to play when it comes to preventing, detecting, and responding to substandard and falsified medical products.
Thank you, Pernette. That was Science in 5 today. Until next time, then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stick with science.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita loku kusendlini.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience in the kingdom.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu sifile sive sitikhulume.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. I also want to extend profound apologies for our interview that ended abruptly with Dr. Mdumiseni Dlamini on the wild gusts and the wildfires that we are experiencing that are devastating the country, as well as other countries. Really, it's not just happening in Eswatini, but Dr. Dlamini has made me aware that it was unforeseen. He's out in Kenya for a climate-related summit, and the network there is not as consistent, perhaps, as our network in Eswatini. Moving on with the program, we want to show you scams that are causing damage worldwide and spreading rapidly thanks to rapid technological developments. Now, following the trail of scam victims forward leads to stories of immense suffering, and so does following the trail backwards to the scammers who engage in large-scale human trafficking, torture, and enslavement so they can profit on the loss of others. Now, who is behind this trade in lies and deceit? How do they perpetrate their crimes, and how can they be stopped? The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, known as the UNODC, is working across Southeast Asia to help governments as well as the region as a whole to combat this threat and its repercussions around the world.
Good night. They told me I have work in Thailand, high salary. But in Thailand, they take my passport. I knew I am trapped. They smuggled me over the border to Myanmar in a van, then through a building window, then a boat. They gave me materials about love scams. In their script, I live in Brooklyn. I have 3 properties. I have my own business. The story can change, but I'm always rich.
I look like a bag of money I'm on. They wanna know what I'm on. Got diamonds dancing on my neck. That is the vibe I'm on.
You are supposed to trick the client into investing in crypto, but it's a scam.
So let's begin at the gate.
This used to be the prostitution den, sex trafficking den. So this room used to be the aquarium. Aquarium means just like an aquarium. You've got fish, right? But instead of fish, you've got women to choose from. This is what a typical scum farm looks like. Look at how huge the entire place is.
This is only one example of many here in the Philippines. And if you go beyond within Southeast Asia, you have more and more of these compounds in different countries. Maybe they look differently, there are different people working there, but in the end, the way of working is similar.
When I saw the scam farm in the Philippines, I thought this looks the same. Same table, same chairs, same place to eat, and same computers, same building. Everything is the same. Even the same punishment if you miss your quota.
So, this was the torture room. As you can see, there's the handcuffs. There's still some dry blood all over the walls. Right? They had tasers and they had fake guns. So if you're an ordinary worker, how would you be able to distinguish between a real gun and a fake gun? And they'd use this to threaten you. Right?
Kasi nga po, wala po akong pera na maipadala dahil nga po nag-usap kami ng aking kapatid na walang ipoproduce.
So this is the entertainment center. This is the biggest room in the entire entertainment center. So this is a huge space. This is 3 times bigger than the ordinary size of a condominium unit here in Metro Manila. This is a karaoke room. Well, all of these are karaoke rooms. The gambling room too. It's all here. They told me at any good month, 1 billion pesos worth of scammed money a week. Only the managers did well here. The ordinary workers, it's pauper's wages.
At the very back are the dormitories where people that work here live on a daily basis, where they take their food, where they sleep at night. Just in front of that, there's an administrative building which housed the administrative operations of the compound. But then in between there's one building that actually housed the gambling operation that was actually registered with the government. And this is the part that was known about previously that existed in this place. And that's also the part that was inspected by the regulator. But what's not visible to that regulator, at least on paper, are the buildings that are in between, housing a range of computers and workstations. Separate from that, you have houses like the one that I'm standing in here, where the people that control this compound, bosses as they call them, live with their families and where they relax by the pool. And it's really based on the suffering of people in buildings, that are just less than 100 meters to the back of this. And if you compare this to the luxury that's on display here with the dormitories that we've seen there, which are very basic and where we know that people went through them, being tortured there, experienced extreme violence there, it really tells you something about the depravity of these places.
They give me pictures of what I eat each day so I know what to tell the client. Of course, I never ate that food. The model is always shopping, but I could not even go outside.
Scam centers are actually a convergence of crimes, and it starts from the fact that some local authorities, even national authorities, are involved in issuing permits to the scam centers, and then eventually it revolves in cyber crimes because a lot of these people are in fact recruited via the internet, via social media, and then it becomes a little bit more difficult because it becomes modern slavery because you have a human trafficking element to it.
I felt bad to scam people. It's not who I am. So if the client likes me, I stop texting and I warn him. When my manager asks me what happened, I say the rich client blocked me. I missed the quota, so they beat me so hard.
It becomes torture because if that person wants to leave the scam center, what they do is that they actually force people to pay them in ransom money, which they don't have because these poor people are in fact very poor people. They can't afford to pay ransom and then they get tortured.
They told me it would cost $7,000 ransom for me to leave. My family didn't have that money. So they said, if you can't pay, you will die here. I said, kill me then.
We heard from Susan, who had been rescued from one of these places. $7,000 was the amount that her life was valued with. And if you compare that to one of the bottles of alcohol that's on display in the living room downstairs, it really tells you how little a life is worth in a place like this.
And that's the end of our show. You go have a fantastic day. See you later. Bye.